Disseminating dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and 1 p.m. in Porto Novo. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink, and here are the top stories. Transitional authorities in Burkina Faso expels 3 French diplomats for subversive activities. Senegalese head of state Diomaye Faye pushes for immediate adoption of the bill aiming to protect whistleblowers.
Whistleblower protection have been a recommendation from civil society, and this is something that we encourage, and that is good because the president has said that everybody can be a whistleblower.
Ivorian government responds to Gbagbo's reinstatement on the electoral register, and Ghana's President Akufo-Addo admits failure to provide electricity as it recommissions power plant.
As our population and economic activities continue to grow, resulting in increased power demand, projects such as this power station are important.
Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Imo Edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us, and a warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. Well, let's begin in Burkina Faso, where the Transitional Authority has expelled 3 French diplomats for subversive activities. According to the Burkinabe Foreign Ministry, in a note sent to the French embassy, the 3 were declared persona non grata and told to leave the country in 48 hours. It did not elaborate on what they were accused of. Francis Boniface tells us more.
The French Foreign Ministry is yet to comment on this latest decision by the military government in Burkina Faso. Meanwhile, a source in the ministry said that the diplomats were kicked out because of meetings that they had with civil society members. Since coming to power in a September 2022 coup, the junta has distanced Burkina Faso from France, which ruled the country until 1960. It has cancelled the 1961 military accord between the two countries, and the French ambassador was withdrawn after the coup. On December 1, 4 French officials were arrested, charged, and imprisoned in the capital, Ouagadougou, according to a French source. The Burkinabe authorities said they were intelligence agents, but the French source said they were IT support staff. The 4 are now under house arrest, according to Burkina security sources. Recall in December 2022, Ouagadougou expelled 2 French nationals working for a Burkina Faso company for alleged espionage. France has ended anti-jihadist military operations in Mali and Burkina Faso, and more recently began to withdraw forces from Niger, all 3 countries where juntas are now ruling after coups. Burkina Faso has increasingly turned to Russia, Mali and Niger for security assistance.
Francis Boniface reporting there. Meanwhile, the transitional government in Mali on Wednesday announced the dissolution of the Association Coordination of Organizations of the Appeal of February 2023 to save Mali. The authorities criticized this group for non-compliance with the limits imposed on political parties and associations in terms of actions contrary to national principles. Among the complaints against the association are also actions likely to disturb public order and compromise the sovereignty of the state as well as national unity. The association, led by former magistrate Sharif Kone, was involved in demonstrations and statements deemed hostile to the transitional authorities, calling for a rapid return to constitutional order. Recently, it has stood out above all through outings calling for the establishment of a civil transition after the expiration on Tuesday, March 26, of the 2-year deadline set since March 2022 for the end of the current administration. Several political organizations, such as the Coordination of Movements, Associations, and Sympathizers of Imam Mamadou Dicko and Kural Renouveau, have been dissolved. The authorities have also taken other measures, such as reviewing the functioning of associations and suspending activities of political parties, political groups, and associations of a political nature. Senegalese President Diomaye Faye is insisting on the need to adopt a bill on the protection of whistleblowers. He has instructed his Minister of Justice to work on this in order to combat corruption more effectively. Another measure taken at the Council of Ministers was the establishment of annual control missions in the constitutional institutions. Abdullah Hassan has a summary of the weekly meetings chaired by Diomaye Faye ahead of his first international trip.
In his address, the Senegalese president reiterated the urgent need to finalize a bill on the protection of whistleblowers at the latest by May 15. Basiru Jomaifai also ordered the organization of annual control missions to the various constitutional institutions, a measure he said will support the audit and periodic verification to combat bad governance. Senegal's new head of state has also instructed the State Inspectorate General IGE to carry out an inspection mission of presidential departments in the coming days. In addition, Jomaifai ordered the publication of the last 5 years' reports by the Court of Auditors, the IGE, and OFNAC, the anti-corruption body. The Senegalese leader also wants to normalize recruitment in the various state institutions by asking his Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko to prepare a draft decree relating to the call for applications for certain senior positions in the public and semi-public sectors. He is also asking his head of government to finalize a bill on access to the civil service to ensure equal opportunities for access to jobs and functions in the public administration. The communique from the Council of Ministers states that a national dialogue will be held on May 28, 2024 with the theme Reform and Modernization of the Justice System.
Abdullah Hassan reporting there. In Cote d'Ivoire, the government is taking a position on Laurent Gbagbo's wish to be a candidate in the 2025 presidential election. A fortnight ago, the former Ivorian president reiterated to his supporters that he will be the candidate of the PPACI party in next year's race despite his removal from the electoral roll. Gbagbo was sentenced to 20 years in prison for the Dakar robbery and was pardoned by President Alassane Ouattara but not amnestied. He is therefore unable to stand for elective office. His party is now putting pressure on the government to reinstate him on the electoral roll. Amadou Kadilbali, spokesman for the Ivorian government, addressed this agitation.
Mr. Gbagbo's question about eligibility are legal. It's a decision of justice that was passed to the Electoral Commission, which means that it can't be on the electoral list. It's still a question of justice. We are in state of law. Mr. Gbagbo is someone who believes in the state of law, but he will have to respect the decisions of the court. I don't know why we are bringing back to the government questions of justice. We need to make sure that everyone accepts that we are in a state of law and that the time that we spent in which justice was instrumentalized is over. There is justice today that is independent. This is perhaps symptomatic of what these people think of the management of a state. Time has changed. There are options and they are addressing the legal issues.
Il s'adresse à la justice.
Our spokesman for the Ivorian government, Amadou Coulibaly, speaking there. Meanwhile, the Ivorian government has confirmed the arrest just over a month ago of a Burkinabe soldier and an auxiliary soldier. According to the government spokesman, discussions are underway and focus on finding a solution to the issue of border crossings. Regarding the release of the soldier and auxiliary of the Burkinabe army, Amadou Coulibaly assured that exchanges are continuing between Abidjan and Ouagadougou. It should be noted that the two security personnel were arrested last February. In September 2023, two Ivorian gendarmes were also arrested in Burkina Faso after inadvertently crossing the border into the country.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
All right, let's take you now to Liberia, where criminal court B. George Nelson Jr. has acquitted Lucas Richards, an American national who was standing trial for an alleged attempt to commit murder. The American national, who doubles as a missionary, was arrested on allegation that he slit the throat of his fiancée, Jessica Lloyd, outside Monrovia in 2023. WDL's Darlington Popper has a report.
Delivering a verdict on Wednesday, Criminal Court B. George Nelson Sr. said the court cannot convict the American national because the prosecution did not prove its case. The court insists that based on testimonies of the alleged victim Jessica Lloyd, there is no way the court can convict the accused, hence his freedom was restored. Meanwhile, the court's ruling resulted in mixed feelings among Jessica and her family members.
Lloyd, when he asked me, not even question close to 3 questions that day because they knew that they were going to ask me questions while I was going to explain. And the judge sat down there, he knew everything just for little of nothing. Everything he do today, they will follow him.
For his part, defense lawyer Jimmy Bombo said due to the huge contradictions in the witnesses' testimonies, the court's ruling was not a surprise.
The law had taken its course. Yes, we did expect this ruling because we were part of the case and we saw that the state was unable to prove its case, all reasonable doubt as provided by law. The variance and contradiction in prosecution witnesses were so huge to the extent that even a little man or ordinary person could make a determination that the case wouldn't have prevailed in this matter.
Those who followed the legal proceedings from the beginning are accusing Jessica, who initial testimony exonerated the defendants of misleading the court. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Pogba in Monrovia.
Still on legal matters, an Abuja court in Nigeria's capital will rule next month if separatist leader Nnamdi Kanu's bail should be reinstated. The judge said Wednesday after denying the fresh application and ordering that he face a speedy trial on terrorism charges. Kanu, a British citizen who leads the band Indigenous People of Biafra IPOB movement, was first arrested in 2015 but disappeared from Nigeria after a while on bail in 2017. He was subsequently arrested in Kenya in 2021 and charged in Nigeria with 7 counts of terrorism. Kanu has pleaded not guilty. Kanu denied breaching the 2017 bail condition, saying he escaped for his life after soldiers invaded his ancestral home in southern Nigeria state of Abia. The prosecuting lawyer asked the court to dismiss Kanu's request. Justice Binta Murtala Nyako, who denied Kanu bail last month, had wanted to commence his trial on Wednesday. Nyako said May 24 ruling on Kanu's application to restore his bail or to be moved to prison or house arrest from custody of the Department of State Services DSS, a security agency. More than 1,000 schools in Burkina Faso have resumed academic activities after a long period of closure due to terrorist attacks across the country. While this information signals the return to normalcy in the jihadist-plagued country, over 1 million children and hundreds of teachers remain affected by the closure of schools. Sankli Janko tells us more.
The Burkinabe Minister of National Education, Sostene Dingara, told the media that as of March 31, 2024, 1,295 schools have reopened. 259,793 students, including 129,104 girls, are among those registered in the schools that opened. Similarly, a total of 8,532 teachers, including 2,724 women, made it back to these educational establishments spread across the national territory. Dingara recalled the need to maintain and increase efforts to ensure the continuity of school activities in the fallback areas and create better teaching and learning conditions in the reconquered areas. The government had indicated that the closure of schools affects a little over 1 million students as well as 31,000 teachers, including around 6,300 redeployed to other schools within the country. At the end of February 2023, 6,134 schools were closed due to insecurity, according to a monthly report from the Ministry of National Education on education in emergency situations. Burkina Faso, according to the UN report, is now home to almost half of the schools closed in West and Central Africa due to insecurity, followed by Mali, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Niger, and Cameroon.
Sanklo Janko filed that report. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar, and our partner stations across the South region. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Transitional authorities in Burkina Faso expels 3 French diplomats for subversive activities. Senegalese head of state Diomaye Faye pushes for immediate adoption of the bill aiming to protect whistleblowers. Ivorian government responds to Gbagbo's reinstatement on the electoral register. And still ahead in the news, Ghana's president Akufo-Addo admits failure to provide electricity as he commissions Kumasi power plant. We do have a guest interview, press review, and sports news. Please stay with us.
You are listening to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal.
Well, don't forget that we are streaming live on WADR.org, YouTube, and Facebook. Well, let's head to Ghana now, as President Nana Akufo-Addo has emphasized the importance of the recommissioned Kumasi 1 thermal power project, stating that it demonstrates the government's commitment to ensuring economic growth and progress in all parts of the country. The project, initiated by the Volta River Authority, aims to address voltage and power quality issues in Kumasi and the northern regions of the country. From Accra, WADR's Nadide Tete reports.
At the commissioning of the 250-megawatt thermal power plant, President Akufo-Addo praised Ghanaians for enduring recent power challenges and emphasized the government's goal of achieving full electrification by year-end.
As our population and economic activities continue to grow, resulting in increased power demand, projects such as this power station are important in boosting our energy supply to meet the expectations of Ghanaians.
The relocation of the plant to the Ashanti region, as noted by the regional minister Simon Osei-Mensah, signifies a significant step towards ensuring stable power and promoting economic growth in the area.
The 250 megawatts capacity of this facility represents a beacon of hope that there will be enough power in the Middle Belt to help address the recent power outages experienced in the region.
The Asantehene Otunfosu Tutu II advocated for a private sector takeover of the Electricity Company of Ghana, the Ghana Grid Company Limited, and other energy sector entities to improve efficiency and alleviate government pressure.
GridCo and others are all for private sector. Let's give them the money, get the qualified people, divest government from it, and let them do it. Other than that, electricity company is in a situation where we don't know, but that also must be divested and give it to private sector. Why are we still holding it when we don't have the money?
Energy Minister Dr. Matthew Puku-Prempeh highlighted the construction aligns with a vision to enhance industrialization in the middle belt of the country. For WADR, Nadide Tete, Accra.
Meanwhile, two cocoa giant Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana will today inaugurate the headquarters of the Ivory Coast Ghana Cocoa Initiative, ICCIG, in the Ghanaian capital, Accra. Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, which represent 60% of world cocoa production, want to influence market prices with a view to a remunerative price for the benefits of farmers. The Prime Minister, Minister of Sport and Living Environment, Robert Mambe, arrived in Accra late Wednesday afternoon to take part in this event. David Vincent has the details.
The Ivory Coast Ghana Cocoa Initiative was established in April 2021 by the two heads of states, Alassane Ouattara and Nana Akufo-Addo, with the mission of coordinating cocoa plantations and institutions in both countries. It will work with regulatory structures, in particular the Café Cacao Council of Côte d'Ivoire and the Ghana Cocoa Board, as well as key players in the sector to identify and cohere the technical elements making it possible to embody this new vision for a Cocoa 2.0, sustainable and profitable. The initiative's first task was therefore to restore trust and dialogue by choosing to be transparent about its strategy and its vision, according to which the cocoa of tomorrow will be sustainable cocoa, offering a decent income to producers. The organization aims to work to promote, favor and defend their common interests as well as those of their producers on the international market. A statement from the Prime Minister's team noted that the ceremony shows the commitment of these two countries to strengthen their cooperation to ensure the viability of the sector.
David Vincent reporting there.
This is the Newspaper Review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the Newspaper Review.
The Newspaper Review.
Well, we remain in Accra as we join Nadide Tete for the Newspaper Review.
Greetings from Accra. Welcome to the Newspaper Review segment. We'll start off with a daily graphic newspaper, the major daily in the country. Banner headline, GJA 75th anniversary launch. Journalists must be fearless. That's according to statesman Sam Jonah. Also on the front page, Ministry for Works and Housing invites proposals for Sanglemi Housing Project. And also here, I'll form first representative government in nation's history. That's according to Alan Kweju Shramating. Let's go to other newspapers. The Daily Guide newspaper here says, Alan fights for ARC. And ARC is the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. Alan's Butterfly Movement has partnered with the National Interest civil movement, and together they have formed the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. Still on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper, focus on women empowerment for inclusive development. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to CSOs, and Samjona challenges journalists to uphold truth, independence, and accountability. Also here on the front page, leverage trade to achieve development in Africa's agri sector. That's a call from an expert. Now to the Daily Guide newspaper. 4 caged over missing EC equipment. Other stories, man remanded for robbing ex-second lady. The Metro Lens front page, I will prioritize citizens' welfare over political interest, as according to Alan Tremating. Dafia Mekbo, multimedia in trouble. Dr. Kingsley Ajiman sues for 20 million Ghana cedis, and Bawumia advocates for greater support for women in leadership roles. The Daybreak newspaper, front page, EC staff and students caged over missing laptops. Still on the front page of the Daybreak newspaper, Samjona charges journalists to defend democracy, and I will form a truly representative government. Alan Tremating. To the Daily Post newspaper now, you will account for your deeds, Mahama warns Akufo-Addo's officials. To the Chronicle newspaper now, Alan to contest presidential election on ARC ticket, and government issues request for proposals for Sanglemi housing units. That's it for the Chronicle newspaper. To the Anchor newspaper, allow private sector participation in VRA, ECG, Gridco, and others. Otunfo advocate says diversification is the way to go. So that's it for what the dailies are reporting today from Accra, Ghana. It's back to you now.
Many thanks, Nadia Dictated there with a newspaper review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, this afternoon on our guest interview segment, we take it back to a move by the Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye on the need to adopt a bill on the protection of whistleblowers. To ensure this comes out speedily, he has instructed his Minister of Justice to work on this in order to combat corruption more effectively. Well, this development has been welcomed by the civil society spheres. Our guest is El Hadj Amadou Sam, Country Director of Budget, Senegal, and a civil society actor.
Whistleblower protection have been a recommendation from civil society, and this is something that we encourage. And that is good because the president has said that everybody can be a whistleblower, but on our side, we don't think that it is going to happen like this. The way we encourage is that if you want to give an information, you have to give what we call the proofs about what you are talking about. And we don't encourage everybody to rise and give information without any proofs. We don't encourage that. We think that civil society organizations need to be strengthened, and even personal people. In Senegal, we have persons like Clédor Sène and other people giving information about oil and gas resources. We encourage that, but we would like to avoid people just raising because they don't like people or they don't like a project, giving information. I think they need to be careful about the regulation and the way that they are going to implement that. How is it going to fight against corruption? Yes, sure, it can fight against corruption, but corruption is a situation in Senegal. In order to fight against that, the first thing is to fight against corruption in the administration, in the government, and mainly in some projects implementation. This can fight against corruption, but I think that if it is well organized, if it is not well organized, I don't think that it is possible.
Well, do you think the president is doing this because he has been there and he knows the importance of protecting the whistleblowers?
Yes, in fact, he's doing that because, first of all, he would like to protect them. But secondly, they are, we can say that they are whistleblowers. If you remember, why Ousmane Sonko have been fired as civil servant? Because he has given information about bad things that happened in the ministries. And in our administration, I can tell you there are a lot of things that the civil servants would like to say, but they are fearing to have problems in the future. So that's the reason why, by protecting them, he can fight corruption. But still, I continue to say that we have to organize that. Otherwise, it will be disorganized, and everybody can rise and say that he's giving information without even having any proofs.
Our guest was Alhaj Amadou Sam, Country Director of Budgets of Senegal and a civil society actor. All right, thank you, Dan Chris on standby for the latest in sports news.
Hello out there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Real Madrid have knocked champions Manchester City out of the UEFA Champions League after a dramatic penalty shootout at the Etihad Stadium on Wednesday night. Antonio Rudiger struck the winning penalty to leave Manchester City's bid for another treble in tatters. Real Madrid reached the semi-finals with a 4-3 win on Sport Kicks after a 1-1 draw at the Etihad meant a 4-4 aggregate stalemate. Bernardo Silva's ridiculously bad Penanka penalty was comfortably saved by Real Madrid's goalkeeper Andre Lunin. The Madrid keeper also dived to thwart substitute Mateo Kovacic's sport kick. Both cities' failures coming after Real Madrid's Luka Modric fluffed his penalty. Ex-Chelsea defender Antonio Rudiger then tucked home the host clincher to send them to the semis. And in Germany, Bayern Munich cruised to the semis following a 1-0 win over dejected Arsenal on Wednesday night. A bullet header from Joshua Kimmich was enough to send the German side through to the semi-finals at the expense of Mikel Arteta's side. Joshua Kimmich scored the only goal of the game to secure a 3-2 aggregate victory and set up a Champions League semi-final with Real Madrid, who beat holders Manchester City on penalties. Arsenal barely laid a glove on Bayern throughout the second leg, and their talisman Saka was subdued throughout. The Gunners' dream for a Champions League trophy was crushed right before their eyes. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Christian Mukredi and David Vincent for their technical support. Let's keep the conversation coming on all of our social media platforms: X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, WADR News, and Facebook West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. Up next is our flagship environment program, Enviroscope, with Abdullah Hassan. I am Imo Edet. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio